Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the launch of Sportsbox 3D Golf. I personally could not think of a better way to start my day than discussing exciting 3D motion capture analysis technology with like-minded and passionate golfers. So thank you all for joining. My name is Dixon. I'm a reporter and host for the Golf Channel, and I'll be your host this morning. I'm also a really big fan of Sportsbox AI and what this talented group of individuals have built and what they're doing to revolutionize this space. So very excited to welcome everyone. We're going to hear from some of the best minds in golf instruction, biomechanics, coaches that have already put the technology into practice, and much, much more. We also have a chat function for questions. So if anyone has questions throughout, just throw them in there, and hopefully we'll have time at the end to get to them. And before we kick everything off, here is a quick video that the Sportsbox team has put together. All right, I feel very motivated after watching that. So good job, you guys, on putting that together. All right, so we're going to go ahead and start from the very beginning, and that's the founding team of Sportsbox AI and the folks behind Sportsbox 3D Golf, Jeehae Lee, the CEO, Sam Menaker, the CTO, and Stephanie Wei, head of marketing. Jeehae, we'll go ahead and start with you. Tell us a little bit about the origin story behind Sportsbox AI and how you guys came together as a team.
Yeah, so about a year ago, actually, is when Stephanie reached out because she was interviewing with she was actually already involved with a company that was doing some really, really fun, innovative things with 2D to 3D technology using AI. And so I got involved right after Stephanie, after meeting Sam and a few other people on the team. There are some incredible minds on this team that I'm really, really excited to be part of. And so we got together. Obviously, Stephanie and I come from the golf world, right? I played golf for about 5.5 years after college, worked in the golf industry over the course of the last decade or so at IMG and Topgolf. Stephanie also built her career in the golf world, being a journalist and broadcaster, covering PGA Tour, LPGA events all over the world. And Sam was busy building incredible companies using AI, and he'll tell you a little more about that later on, but his previous company, VoiceBox, was able to use AI technology to understand human speech and language, and he started applying similar AI kind of logic to and adding computer vision to the mix to understand what human body is doing in video. So all of us kind of came together. Obviously, we brought in some experts in the golf world and the biomechanics world, and that's kind of the team story.
Well, you mentioned Sam, Jeehae. Sam, you are the mind behind this incredible technology. How are you able to build this product? And tell us a little bit about your experience in AI technology that led you to building Sportsbox.
Yeah, it was very incredible. But before I tell you how we built this incredible, great technology, I want to tell you a little bit about myself. So I have over 15 years of experience working with AI and machine learning technologies to delivering solutions for millions of users for companies like Samsung and Toyota. So before I co-founded Sportsbox, I was developing AI solutions for personal assistance using voice recognition and natural language technologies. So we developed technologies to collect small pieces of sound called phonemes to get meaning out of it and provide compelling and very accurate voice recognition experience for personal assistants in cars and phones and home. So when we started Sportsbox, I used my voice recognition experience to build action understanding technology. It was very, very similar to speech recognition, where we take movements of joints and limbs, and like natural language for voice recognition, we develop our great kinematic action understanding technology to get meaning out of it for using just your mobile phone. So we're developing over 200 3D kinematic parameters right now to understand your golf swings. So using these technologies, we can do all kinds of things Jeehae mentioned and what we mentioned in the video. And in addition to that, we develop a number of new technologies to develop the best learning experience for golfers. So we are very, very proud of it.
You should be very, very proud of it. It's been incredible to watch the journey unfold, Sam. And Stephanie, you've been working closely with coaches as they've started to take Sam's technology and truly apply it via the beta product. What have been some of the key exciting takeaways from coaches, and what can we kind of expect over the next few months as you go to market?
So I want to say it was so much fun working with all the 200 plus coaches. Loved getting to know you all so much better and hearing your thoughts on the app and getting your feedback to make the product even better. And I never got yelled at once for anything. So that was very nice. Everyone was awesome. I think that what coaches were most excited about was what incredible diagnostic tool Sportsbox was. You know, for the first time, you can just take your cell phone and with one slow motion video, you point and shoot, and you can see the whole golf swing from 6 different angles, from face on, down the line, above, from the target, below, behind. And it was an incredible diagnostic tool to give coaches a full picture with all the 3D measurements as well as to what was going on. What I heard a lot was that it validated a lot of what coaches thought they were seeing, you know, with their eyes or with 2D video, which, you know, obviously 2D regular video is helpful, but it doesn't give you the full picture. But now, you know, because they were guessing with regular video, but now they were able to validate what they thought they were seeing so they could more quickly and effectively address the swing issues, and as well as highlight the positives, because so often we're looking at what's wrong instead of, you know, what people are doing right as well. And I think a lot of the coaches that work with PGA Tour players, LPGA players, and elite players, they liked being able to use the app in different environments, like on the practice tee and then the golf course, so they could quickly capture something during a practice round to see how it compared to the golfer's swing on the driving range.
Yeah, I think that that's so amazing that because people play differently on the driving range than they do on the golf course a lot of times, and to be able to just have that immediate feedback is so valuable. Well, okay, guys, the team has been working incredibly hard for this moment, so I hope you all to remember to celebrate this. I always tell Jeehae, you need to make sure to celebrate these types of moments, so please have a mimosa or a glass of orange juice for you, Stephanie, after this call, because you certainly deserve it. And something else that the founding team has done that's been very incredible is engaging a number of key individuals to serve as advisors and to work alongside them to really help develop this technology. And Dr. Phil Cheetham is chief among a lot of those key partners. He is the Director of Sports Technology and Innovation at the United States Olympic and Paralympic Committee and has been dubbed the 3D guy. He's an innovator in 3D motion analysis and sports biomechanics for over 30 years, and he's joined forces with Sportsbox as their biomechanist. Here's a quick message from Dr. Cheetham.
I started as a biomechanist many years ago because I wanted to analyze my own gymnastics movements, and then formed a company that we developed motion analysis systems. And of course, as soon as you develop a motion capture system and start demonstrating it at a trade show somewhere, there's always going to be a golf person comes up and say, can you do that for golf? And so we got into that exactly in that manner. Our first customer, one of our first customers was Golf Tech, and we started doing biomechanics analysis, and it continued from there. And so that's how I got into biomechanics for the golf swing, not because I was a golfer, but because I became a golf scientist. many years of being in biomechanics and motion analysis, I've gone through manual digitizing from film, from video, electromagnetic systems, IMUs, which are basically inertial systems, and all of them either are very, very complex to use, very expensive to use, or you have to attach stuff to the golfer or to the athlete. And so when I saw Sportsbox and saw that you don't have to attach anything, you just have to film. Like I said in many times before, I've always dreamed about the magic camera, and it seems like Sportsbox is the magic camera now, using the principles of AI. With one camera, you can film and get a 3D avatar, just like we do with the AMM system, but with no wires or no complex setup procedures. So yeah, it's very exciting to me that it's going to democratize biomechanics. Biomechanics has been stuck in the universities, their research institutions, and the research publications, and now we're going to bring it to the field, literally to the field. We're going to bring it out to the golf course, where the golfer can stick the phone in their back pocket and they can play a round of golf, and if they got a particular swing they want to look at, they can just pull it out and start videoing that swing. So it's very exciting from the point of view that it's going to be usable by the golfer and the golf instructor. I'm also excited about the fact that it's going to be expandable to any other sport. Video is the key to seeing what's going on. Now we can not only see what's going on, but we can measure what's going on, all from the use of our cell phone.
Thank you to Dr. Cheetham. Now that you have met those that have brought this technology to your cell phones, I think that it's important for us to meet some of those who know how to put it into practice better than anyone. So all of these names are synonymous with elite golf instruction. They need no introduction. They join us today for a roundtable discussion on why they are also passionate about Sportsbox 3D golf and how it is a true game changer. And just the fact that these individuals are here speaks to how powerful the technology is. David Leadbetter, Sean Foley, Mike Adams, and Terry Rowles. Their players can be found at the tops of leaderboards. They're major champions, all the way down to beginners. They are authors and pioneers. They've been on every best coach list ever, and they are the standard bearers for the industry. So thank you all for joining us this morning or afternoon, wherever you are joining us from. And I'll just start with a general question for all of you on kind of what you remember about how you heard about the technology and what your first impression is. And David, I'll go ahead and start with you. David, you're on mute still.
There we are.
There we go.
All right. Well, thank you. Yeah, great to be here with everybody. And this is a defining day, I think, in the world of golf instruction, and very excited to be part of it. You know, I've known Jeehae for many years, from the time we coached her and followed her career very closely. And when she told me what she was getting into, I thought, well, there's got to be something behind this. So, you know, biomechanics is a buzzword now. It's like organic, right? It's in golf. And I think that one of the things from my standpoint is that it's probably misunderstood in many cases. Teachers use it, people try to understand it, but the great thing with Sportsbox 3D now is that you're bringing it to the masses. I always look at 3D analysis from a standpoint of it's almost like it's like an MRI. You know, 2D is like an X-ray. Okay, you can sort of see certain things and you can guess certain things. And I think as teachers, we're intuitive and we know generally what's going on. But the fact of the matter is now you look at where the game is at, and hey, the bottom line is we want to help people get better quicker, and that's the society that we live in these days. And the great thing, it's a tool, and it'll never be able to replace the golf professional, because obviously a lot of it is how you communicate the information over to the individual. So I'm really excited because I really think this is sort of we're breaking a new frontier here. You know, I've been around this game for a long time, probably not quite since Hickory, but I've been through all the different eras. And I've seen what's going on. I remember clunking around a big old VHS camera years ago and what have you. And, they've obviously moved into camcorders, little camcorders, and, obviously force plates. We've looked at kinematic vests and so on. The great thing with this is one-stop shopping, which is going to be affordable. It's I think it's going to be a tool that every golf coach is going to want to use. But not only that, I mean, obviously other sports, as Phil Cheetham was saying, I mean, other sports and fitness and rehab. And I mean, it's unlimited really what this Sportsbox 3D golf in particular, we're starting here, but what it's going to be able to do in the future. I'm really excited about it because, I say, it allows us as teachers to get the information and to be able to provide that information to students, no matter what level of player they are, in order to get better. And the ability to be able to quantify things now it's tremendous. I mean, obviously we've got launch monitors out now. We can see what's happening to the ball, and we can tell what's happening to the club face, etc., etc. And now we can actually see what's taking place with the body, which is so important. And this goes right through the game, short game, putting, and everything else that Sportsbox is going to get into down the road. So I'm really excited to be part of it. And to say, I think it's a defining day in golf instruction. And to me, I mean, this is going to be part of every golf coach's, instructor's toolbox.
Well, that excitement that you're feeling, David, I'm sure everybody is as well on this panel. And Sean, I'll go to you and your first impressions and thoughts on Sportsbox 3D Golf.
Yeah, this year at the PGA Championship at Keo Island, I came off the range after a long day and saw my good friend Terry Rowles. And Terry came up to me and said, and Terry and I have had a great relationship probably since 2007. Always pushing each other to learn more. And through Terry, I met Phil Cheetham, and I've known Mike Adams for a very long time as well, and obviously David. So Terry said, let me show you something. And I sat down and he showed me the kind of initial aspect of Sportsbox 3D and showing a player's swing. And it took me about 2 minutes before I got Jeehae's number. And then I spoke to Jeehae about 3 hours later. And look, to be honest with you, I haven't really been a part of or invested in many companies in golf because, a lot of startups are just startups. And as soon as I saw this, I just knew all the other people had reached out to me trying to do different versions of this in a much more amateur fashion. They were. It was just something that I knew I had to be a part of. And then to meet, obviously, the team, Rich and Sam, and I've known Steph for a long time on tour. Jeehae's incredibly impressive. It was just a no-brainer for me. And, I felt this way for a long time. I've always used 3D, but I've never done the 3D. I've had friends like Mark Bull, Phil Cheetham has done some of my players, to where I was using the Biomechanical to do it as well, just because of, one, the time that it takes, the space that you need. And then, we're kind of the generals of the trenches, right? Like we're out on the road a lot, where the ability to do something like that is just not possible. And that's the thing, is that's at the highest level of the game, and it's still not possible. So this is benefiting professional players, but all the way down to amateur players, because a lot of amateur players, people who play golf are fairly smart, right? It's tough to afford golf if you don't have a decent understanding of certain school topics. So I think we get too much into the world of like keeping it simple and dumbing it down. And I think that's just why everyone becomes dumb, is because we dumb it down. We can use something like this that also connects into with how every human being will be doing this with, will have some ability to learn through visuals. And even just in a few lessons that I've used it with, there's been an aha when people have seen seen the, they've seen themselves, but then when they start to see the aspects of their hand path or things like that, they kind of clicks. And we've looked at these videos and TrackMan numbers for a long time. So I think it just very, very simply meshes a high level of of information that helps us in our teaching, just in the most simple way to do it. I remember I did it the first time with Justin Rose, and from the time I started to the time I was able to show him, it took me less than 62 seconds. In the past, when we worked with Mark Bull, about 45 minutes into it, we have to warm up again so he can hit a shot. So just to see the level of it, to know that Phil Cheetham was a huge part of it, was big to me as well, because he's one of the pioneers and the greats of biomechanics through all sports. So just when all those things aligned up, obviously I have the most respect for Mike Adams and Terry Rowles and David Leadbetter. So as soon as I saw that, it was just a complete no-brainer. And I hardly even had to convince my wife, who is the boss. So I'm glad to be a part of it. And I do agree. It's really cool to be sitting here on this call this morning in Las Vegas at the advent of something that's going to be pretty massive.
And there's no dumbing it down with this group. It's all knowledge is power, and it's really exciting to get to be a part of. Well, Sean, I'm going to go to Terry, who is the one that brought you the technology. Terry, how did you come to find out about Sportsbox 3D Golf, and what were your first impressions?
Well, I met Jeehae in California right when she was talking to the company, and we were kind of comparing ideas. As Sean said, there's lots of ideas out there about how we can use technology to make teaching easier. Mike and I had kind of developed a software which was able to help us with the teaching that we were doing, but having the ability to measure each swing and categorize it each time you hit a shot made it 1,000 times better. So immediately it connected with the vision of what I saw in the golf business. And yeah, so from there, the pace of development has been unbelievable. The accuracy is incredible. And, I'm very excited for golf. If you just take a 10,000 foot view and say, well, what does this do? I think, we all have had a great life in this game. And I think what we're trying to do is kind of grow the game, but grow the game through, better information, more accessible improvements for golfers, because golf is hard and time is limited. So I think the ability to, measure and, almost create best practices through the fact that this is going to be available to so many thousand teachers. We've already learned from the 200 that we've got involved, different ways to look at, similar things. And, I'm super excited, to learn from the, almost like crowdsourced golf instruction, democratize it, as Phil said. And I think if you look at, I've learned so much from Mike Adams, David Leadbetter, Sean Foley, but now if we start actually measuring things and making it available, then, that's going to continue to help the golf industry as a whole. And, eventually, with technology, we get to know what things are, but more importantly, I think, we get to know what they aren't. And, so we make the target a little bit smaller, and therefore we can concentrate our resources of instruction into a smaller and smaller area, which is making all of our jobs easier, firstly, but it's also making the ability to communicate improvement more streamlined. And therefore, I think, golfers can get better, with less guessing.
And finally, speaking of someone who's improved the golf industry, Mike Adams, how did you come to find out about Sportsbox 3D Golf, and what were your impressions?
Well, first of all, Terry Rowles is one of my best friends, as is Sean and David Leadbetter. Phil Cheetham is also a close friend, and I've utilized his skills for many years. His mentor, Dr. Chuck Dillman, who used to be the biomechanist for the U.S. Olympic team, I was working with him 30 years ago, working with 3D. I have always looked for a better set of eyes. First, there was video. That was a better set of eyes. Then came TrackMan and the quad, giving us another better set of eyes. Then came the force plates. So now we understood how we put force into the ground. We understood they had video of what was going on, but there was no 3D going on. When I used 3D, the problem was it was very cumbersome, very expensive, and very time consuming. So you put a person on the 3D system, and an hour later you're looking at it and you're on to your next lesson. And so, it wasn't accessible. The great thing about Sportsbox 3D, what it does, it is, number one, it is affordable. Number two, it is portable. You know, it's right there on your phone. And number three, it's quantifiable. It gives you all the information. You're no longer guessing, you're measuring, and you have real information right in front of you at the snap of your finger. It's right there. So there isn't anything better than this. I mean, this little piece of machinery called a phone has become a handheld computer, and it gives us everything. So no longer do we need a room to do it in. We can do it right on the tee. We can do it on the golf course. It's perfect. I mean, I cannot think of a better system than this. And to have the brain power behind it with Sam and Jeehae and Stephanie, and then David, Terry, and Sean, and then Phil Cheetham, they've created a product that is going to transcend golf instruction. I'm pretty excited about this.
We are all certainly very excited. And Sean, I'm going to go back to you since Mike, you mentioned Sean at the end there. When it comes to a better set of eyes, PGA Tour players are always looking for a better set of eyes. What have been some of the impressions from tour players as you've shared the technology with them?
Well, I'd say the first impression was how accurate is it, because they've been, you know, they've had everything connected to their body and to their golf club. So accuracy was everything. And, you know, like I said, that was a big reason that when I first asked about Phil, that really made me feel great about it, because, you know, as a pioneer, he takes his work very seriously, and that world of data and measurement, you know, that's extremely important to people like him. So being able to use it, like, for example, the time that I used it with Lydia, we had been struggling when the wind was off the left. So behind the player's back, moving into them. And I think what happens is a lot of pros and amateurs as well, I think we're all human beings, so we all go through the same experience. They would say like certain shots were mental, and I've always believed that it was more environmental. So our ability to adapt to the situation outside of ourselves is kind of what separates humans, and is the reason that we're not extinct. So what we noticed is that obviously the time of the backswing was less, but there was less pivot, so the pelvis turned less. There was less shift into the right leg, so there was less sway, and then there was more lateral motion, which ended up in more extension and more side bend. And what we realized is that the feeling that she had of the wind off the left and into, she tried to hit the ball faster. So then we set it up downwind off the right, and that gave us really a perfect example of not just the numbers, but the feeling that she had to have. So into the wind now off the left, her feeling is to still approach that shot like the wind is down off the right. And she had 4 or 5 of those shots on the last 12 holes at the Olympics, and smashed every single one down the fairway, and said that she felt very uncomfortable, but knew that it was correct. And that's the thing, right? Like, in order to be successful, you just have to become comfortable with being uncomfortable, because uncomfort is fine, right? But it's also being able to use a tool to show and prove in a valid way that this is definitely going to be beneficial and helpful for you. So it's been, you know, using it in the fairway bunker, using it in the rough. Like I said, you could just never do that before, because we were in a hitting bay, sometimes into a net, sometimes not into a net. And to me, that's like Navy SEALs practicing with blanks when they're going to be at war with real bullets. So this makes it more, to me, that makes the technology more important, that I can get a video in practice rounds off of downhill lies, uphill lies, different wind conditions, and just see how my player is environmentally changing to the situation. So once again, it's me being able to fall asleep easier at night, because I think all of us are good at our jobs, but a lot of times we probably lay there with a little bit insecurity on, like, were we too heavy in intuition there? And yes, it was working, but not exactly sure what changed in a measured way. So I like to sleep, and I don't sleep well all the time. And a lot of times it's connected to these people in my mind. So this is just another way to get a better sleep, which leads to better coaching.
Great. This is great for the continued advertising of Sportsbox. Also provides a great night of sleep for your coach. So we can sign that up. Sign me up for that. David, I'm going to come to you. You've created a global network of instructors who teach at Golf's on Leadbetter academies all over the world. For coaches specifically, how easily can coaches integrate Sportsbox into their existing processes and really use it as a tool in their everyday lives with their students?
Well, I think it'll become part and parcel. I mean, certainly 2D is still very valid. There's no question about it. I mean, because the visual side of things is important. We know people use different sensory systems to accomplish what they want to accomplish. And so 2D is very important. But the interesting thing is actually watching somebody watching themselves in an avatar situation, because you're not worried about, hey man, I should have worn a different shirt, or it's funny when I'm sure the other coaches on the panel will agree. I mean, you look at your own golf swing, it's like, you've seen it so long, but you can't see the wood for the trees sort of thing. But the fact of the matter is, it's a whole different perspective on things when you can actually see an avatar working. And the great thing about it is that it's so simple to use. So it's not like it's a big deal. I mean, if you look at 3D for the most part, I mean, it's as Mike was alluding to, it's cumbersome. I mean, you put the markers on there, you're not sure if they're shifting, you're not sure if you're getting the right readings. The system's expensive. And the great thing is that, this is part of sort of improving not only coaches at my academies, but coaching around the world. Because look, if we're going to grow this great game, it's all about getting people to play better quicker and understanding what they have to do. And the great thing with Sportsbox 3D now is that we'll be able to sort of allude to the fact that, you can see what's taking place now. It's so much clearer. It really is very interesting to say watching an avatar versus watching 2D. I mean, 2D, yes, you get a picture, you get an image, but with a 3D approach, it's really incredible, I think. I mean, when you look at the way certain joints are moving, being able to ascertain how much shoulder rotation or upper torso rotation an individual has. And so it's, to me, it's a very easy step for coaches to be able to sort of move into the 3D world and give them an understanding. Because, look, 3D's been around for a while, no question about it. I've been involved with it since the 90s, and it is something. When you look at it, it's the internal workings of the golf swing. When you look at a player, why does this player hit the ball so far? Why are they so accurate? And you can look at certain positions, say, well, they do this or she does that, but in the end, it's like, it's all about how you impart energy into a golf swing. And this is what, the 3D analysis will allow us to do. So to incorporate it in one's teaching, I think it's going to be pretty simple. And I think it's going to elevate the level of coaching around the world. And Sportsbox 3D is really sort of, I think, the start of this whole process.
And Mike, a similar question to you. You've used all sorts of technology for years and years with your students. When it comes to coaching in particular, how important is it for coaches to lean into this technology and integrate it into what they do with their students? And what have you seen some of the reactions from folks seeing themselves as avatars?
Well, first of all, Terry and I believe in assessing, not guessing. That's why we measure everybody. And like I said, the better set of eyes. Where 3D used to be cumbersome and intrusive. Now it's not. This, I believe, will end up replacing video. The simple reason it's giving you, it's like you can do, you got a camera going all around the person and shooting them from every angle, which you can do with what this does. I mean, it's instant feedback. The numbers are correct. It gives us, it's like looking underneath the hood and we can see everything. It's a phenomenal tool. I think that everybody who teaches golf should have it. I mean, this should be part of your toolbox, like David said. And once you start using this, all of a sudden, things become clearer and easier. It quantifies what you're seeing.
And when it comes to quantifying some of the big names that we see in the game, Terry, you were recently on the On the Mark podcast with Mark Immelman. You talked about some of the idiosyncrasies of different Ryder Cuppers and their swings using Sportsbox 3D data. Can you give one of the examples from one of those players?
Well, firstly, just imagine how easy it is for us to get access to the data now, because previously, as everyone's mentioned, we'd have to get these, world-class players whose time is constrained and what have you into a studio and, spend an hour, stuck in the same place. So now we can just film a swing and compare them, accurately using Sportsbox 3D. So on Mark's podcast, he asked me to compare different players. So I used different metrics to kind of compare different styles. One example that we used was, rotation. So, part of the danger of new technologies over time is teachers tend to revert to the average and teach everyone the same thing. So we use rotation, probably on the star player of the European team is Jon Rahm. And obviously probably the longest hitter on tour right now is Bryson DeChambeau. And so, using a video in Sportsbox 3D and comparing them, we can obviously see two very long hitters with two very different ways of doing it. And so the ends of the spectrum where Bryson was rotating his shoulders about 115 degrees and Jon Rahm was, I think it was about 87. And so within that range fall probably all or, at least probably 80 to 90% of tour players. And so if you're outside of those two ranges, there's probably something not good. But those were, two really good examples of two people that were playing really well that week using a single variable. Of course, we got what we call 6 degrees of freedom, so we can measure movements as well as rotations, but that was the example I used.
I also love how you mentioned that you can look at the avatar and say, like, oh, that's Jordan Spieth, and know immediately just from the avatar, because it truly mimics the motion of the player.
Yeah, that was very, very early. I think in April, Jeehae and Stephanie went to a tournament, and it was when the avatar started working, and it was the most exciting early moment for us is when they filmed, a bunch of different players and put it onto Instagram and said to the the public, whose swing is this? And it was Jordan Spieth, and immediately like the first comment was Jordan Spieth, and it was really distinctive and obvious who it was. And so that obviously was a very big boost to the team working in the background that they're on the right track and it's accurate.
Certainly on the right track. I think that we can all agree the excitement in this group is palpable, and excited to see you all put this into motion with your students and clients and players moving forward, and to see how this truly does change the face of golf instruction. And to thank you all for joining and for giving us your time and such valuable insights. And I'm sure I'll see you all on a range soon. And speaking of ranges, yes, Sean.
Can I make one more point too?
You can, yes, of course, please. I
think too that, the four of us have worked really hard, but we've also been very fortunate. And, I remember what it was like when I was trying to build my business. And so the first 10 years, I was, at least 8 of those years, I was waiting tables on top of teaching golf. And, it's a great industry and we get to help people. But the problem is a lot of the technology up to this point has been very expensive. And some of it's almost like pretty much the same after taxes. That's what people would be spending their check on a device like that. So the one thing that I really, really like about this from the idea of equality and giving everyone the same opportunity is that this is going to really help a lot of young instructors and just instructors in general, because force plates, TrackMan, and a great AMM system, and that's 6 figures right there. And so some of us have been fortunate enough to be able to kind of get to that point where we could do all that. But man, if I was 25 years of age again with the ability to use something like this, I probably cost myself $30,000 in refunds because I'd given bad lessons. So I think that's one of the things that really attracted me to this too, is it creates an equal playing field for everybody to have the same opportunity to use the same great technology to improve their students, but at a price that isn't gouging anyone. So that from a standpoint, like a holistic standpoint, is something that I really support with it as well. And just wanted to make that point that it's pretty altruistic in many ways that we're able to do that, but also provide this high level of technology. There's been so many other things on the market over the years that pretend to do this, but they just dupe people who already, don't need to spend money on things that aren't going to be helpful to their business.
Yeah, I think we all can agree that the barrier to entry for golf is already very, very high, with just how much it costs to play golf as a game, and to have somebody that can introduce you and make you feel comfortable in the golf world. So I think that we think of it in terms of players, and very rarely do we think of it as getting into the business as a coach and the expense that comes with actually becoming a coach or an instructor. And you need to have a very specific background and a mentor and support system for all of that. So I think it's important to think of Sportsbox 3D Golf not just as democratizing access to incredible insights for students and players, but for coaches themselves. And we have been able to tap into 200 select coaches who have been testing Sportsbox 3D Golf and using it to teach their students over the last few months. Jeehae, I'm going to go back to you to tell us about who these coaches are, what their impressions have been using the beta product, and what you've learned working with them.
Yeah, first off, just listening to this group of people talking about the product that we've been able to create, it's just like a culmination of everything that I feel like I've done in my entire life, right? Like being in the golf industry, being a player myself, and getting to this point where I can somehow give back to this game that's been so good to me. In a small way, but hopefully in a larger way as well. This is wonderful. Thank you guys. And so for the last 3 or 4 months, we've had the product out with just about 200 beta testers that we hand selected. And it's been a really, really great group of people to work with. They're incredibly accomplished. When we looked through the list, we had close to 50 of them who were on the top 100 list on Golf Magazine, and 15 of the top 50 on Golf Digest. And this was a little bit of a surprise to us, but over 20 countries represented in that beta tester group, and completely organically. And we love the fact that we get to have a diversity of thought and feedback through the last 3 months or so of having the product out there. And yes, we did have it on Android and iOS, and we will be launching on both platforms, iOS first and then on Android. So that's out there. And we've gotten some great feedback. We've made some adjustments and improvements along the way in the last 3 months, and we'll continue to do so based on the feedback. And just for those of you who are listening, who are also instructors who are looking to use this, please continue to give us feedback, because all we want to do is get better and serve you guys better. So.
Well, I think we would like to hear directly from the source, from these coaches. So we have a quick video from them talking about their experiences.
It's amazing that a tour player can see that data that quick at a tournament. So we can be in the middle of a practice round on the golf course, and we can be going through all the numbers on their swing and see what they do on the golf course versus on the range.
It's really pretty incredible to me now that I can take one slow motion video of a client on the golf course in my studio. They can send it to me from literally anywhere in the world, and I can convert it into accurate 3D measurements so that I can give them proper guidance and coaching. And the changes are just incredible, really.
It has been an absolute game changer for me in my golf tuition. We're finding the root cause of the problem so much faster now using Sportsbox AI. It's a lovely teaching tool to be able to use and show your clients whilst teaching.
One student had his right hip high and his right leg straight, which made him tilt his upper body too much to the right. So he had his shoulders tilted to 14 degrees at setup, and his right hip was high, so the side bend on his hips were +4. What we did is I showed him that from behind, brought his hips back down so he had less tilt or side bend to his hips. So he brought it down to a +1. Then his shoulders leveled out a little bit more. From there, we also changed the path of his swing and his pivot. So his path changed to an in to out of almost, it was went up to +1. Face closed a little bit, and he went from 111 yards with a 7-iron to 135. So this was a matter of 45 minutes. We made the changes, and they were fantastic.
With one student, we used the chest and pelvis swing and lift tracker to better time those moving parts during a swing. By doing so, we improved his iron play drastically, and on his driver swing, he was able to add 7 miles per hour to his already impressive 120.
And one lad who was playing at a tour event, and he was struggling on the golf course on the Monday, the practice day, with certain shots. And what we were able to do was video him on that practice area or on that course on that day. When we videoed him, we were able to see that in this instance, he was not rotating as much as normal. So he had a little bit more sway instead of the turn. Now, that was purely because his mind and what he was thinking about was trying to move pressure to the right, and he was doing it in the wrong way.
Lucky enough to be able to test this with Jason Kokrak, and we were on the 18th hole at Eastlake, and he had been struggling with drivers for a few weeks, and I got to show him instantly what his golf swing was doing with the driver, and I got to put on every number and show him every number on the golf course at Eastlake and use it.
There's one guy that came to me for a golf lesson recently. What he did was he came in very steep, which pulled his body back. He was topping shots and slicing shots all day long before he came for his first golf lesson. When I got him on Sportsbox AI, we showed him exactly what his body was doing. We compared that to one of the best guys and girls in the world with what they are doing in their own golf swing, and we saw that they were, with the pelvis tracker with Sportsbox AI, they were twisting much more as he was lifting with his own pelvis. So once we started to get him to rotate better and twist better using the pelvis tracker, we showed him the comparison, and the shots just went so much straighter. One happy customer, one happy coach. Sportsbox AI is an absolute game changer. If you haven't used it yet, go and find a PGA coach that does. Enjoy your sessions. Take care.
Well, thank you to all our coaches and everyone that sent in videos. So certainly appreciate it, and excited that you've been able to make some real changes for students. Well, now that we've discussed all about the technology, Jeehae, I'm going to go back to you. Tell us a little bit more about the launch itself. What can people expect? How can folks get it? And what's this rollout going to look like?
Yeah, so next week, starting Monday, we'll be live on iOS, which is really exciting. And the product will be primarily for the coaches. And the coach will be able to capture a video and create a 3D model out of it and get all of the 3D motion data. And so that's what we call creating a session. And you can do that for a specific student whose folder you can manage, and you can create and manage, and you can send information directly to the student, share the session with the student, so that on the free version, the student account, they can always receive information from you, stay on track about the things that you're working on, and check on how you have progressed over the course of a single lesson or over the course of multiple sessions. So that's going to be our product, Sportsbox 3D Golf, starting next week. Find it on iOS in a couple weeks. So early November, we'll also be live on Android as well. And you'll be able to find our pricing on our website now. I think it's live. So yeah, and it's based on a monthly or annual subscription.
And I think that we received a few questions in the chat. Stephanie, I don't know if you want to choose a few and moderate those questions.
Sorry, I should make one more point. about the launch. So initially it is going to be on an invite only basis. This is an important point. So the coaches who have been our beta testers and have been on our early access wait list will be sending out an invite to first. And then we will be giving each of these early community member coaches 5 invites that they can then distribute out to their colleagues of their choice. So that's how we're going to be rolling it out. And the reason behind that kind of methodology is that it was really important for us to kind of do an initial onboarding and give you guys a tutorial of sorts in order to kind of explain how it all works, best practices, and for us to create a similar dynamic as new coaches come on board. We wanted to make sure there was a good, solid relationship with somebody who is an expert at using the product that they can go to. Of course, you can always reach out to us, but we figured it would be much better coming from a colleague or a friend who can walk them through the experience. So that's how we're rolling it out. But yeah, please do keep on going to our website, sportsbox.ai, and dropping us your email so that we can put you on the wait list, and we will eventually get it out to everybody.
Okay, so some questions. I guess Jeehae and I can take turns on this. How many recordings will be needed to get all 6 views, and how important will positioning of the camera be to accuracy?
Okay, yeah, so we've got a few minutes before we let you all go. We'll take those questions. You only need to get 1 slow motion video from face on. And the camera should be as close to face on as possible, but we're not going to have discrepancies within a few degrees from face on. And so there's the answer to that.
Can we hear what else is on the roadmap? I think Jeehae addressed that a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah. So our main focus for the next 6 to 12 months is going to be continuing to build out the coaches toolbox that we have created. So initially, obviously, we've got the 2D to 3D and the 3D trackers. We'll continue to build out the tracker library so that you'll have access to more and more 3D motion data. We'll also allow for some 2D analysis as well as some video editing tools. And later on this year, we'll also be adding the iPad, which is something that was highly requested during the beta. But I think primarily what we want to accomplish with the product is to build a really strong relationship between the coach and the student, whether it's during a live lesson or remotely. We know everybody, not everybody can get together on a regular basis. So, and we want to make that hybrid learning model stronger and better and more robust, and you don't have to miss a beat even when you're not together. So we're going to be using our tools to kind of strengthen that relationship. So lots and lots and lots more to come.
And we have a question from LKD, Luke Kerdanine. What are some biomechanics metrics you think will become more popularized among regular golfers as this technology grows?
Why don't we shoot that over to Terry?
Well, I think we're starting from zero, right? Because there are no metrics out there that are popular. So all of them is the quick answer. I think I learned German once, and basically I learned a word a day. So I think we'll learn the familiar things, the things we see most often first, which is, rotations. So no one ever really knows what their rotations were. So I think the more closely it's aligned to what they already understand, those will be the first things. And then as things move along, maybe they don't solve the problems that they're trying to solve, then they'll dive into the next thing and the next thing. So I think it's like, onion, you peel it off and there's another layer, there's another layer. I think some of the things that I'm excited about in the future is, which we've never really talked about, is, the positioning of the hands and the way the club moves and things like that. So, potentially your hands could be going in 4 inches or, so that's kind of stuff that's never really been talked about. But I think at the start, people will look to see the things that they know. And like I say, they'll go beyond those. And then, that's what we call 6 degrees of freedom. So there's rotations, translations, but also the timing of things, as the next generation comes along, the time aspect to be involved. And so I think, because it's available to the whole world, I think we're all going to be learning really quickly, but we can only learn from where we currently are. So I think, the things that are popular in the market right now will be measured and then who knows where it'll be in a year. It'll be very interesting to me.
Another question from Ben Cummings. Will putter be added as a club?
So not in the immediate term, but yes, theoretically, we can measure all types of motion, including motions outside of golf. So we're starting with the full swing, but we will be looking at short game later on.
Another good question from Ron Diaz. Is the analysis affected by type of clothing, looseness, color, contrast, etc.?
So we have done a lot of testing and training. It's a continuous iterative process when it comes to training AI models. It's, you got to show it lots and lots of information. And the more you show it, the more you train it, the better it gets. So over the course of the last year or so, we've shown it all types of clothing, all types of swing variations, all types of light conditions and background. So it's become pretty robust. It's by no means where we want to be complacent. We want to continue to get better. But for the most part, if you're wearing athletic clothes or golf gear, you're totally covered. It's only when you have let's say you have a jacket on you and it's not zipped up and it's flying around while you're swinging, that might mess up the capture a little bit. But unless that's the case, hoodies are fine, different hats, sunglasses, those are all kind of incorporated into our model.
Let's take just one more here from Javon again. Will there be an importing feature tool to possibly support online instruction? Yeah,
so the product supports taking the video within the app using our camera feature and taking a video that you have just on your phone, Google Drive folder, whatever have you, as long as it meets the requirements of being face on and slow motion, 120 to 240 FPS, it'll be supported and you'll be able to get 3D data.
If I can just add in, I think it's important, Jeehae, to realize that probably it's best if you put your iPhone on a tripod, because of the steadier and more stable you are, the better readings you're going to get. Absolutely.
Unless you specially train for it, like Stephanie and I have, where we've learned how to not breathe over the course of golf swing and holding it very still. We're propping it against, like at the top of a golf club, like Terry does often. So there are lots of ways, but yes, please do try to keep it still. And we are going to be providing lots of resources like Biomechanics 101, as well as how-to guides like tutorial videos and such. And we will make ourselves available for weekly onboarding sessions so that when you do subscribe, you don't get lost.
And tracker ranges, right, Jeehae? So another question we got a lot was, what do these numbers mean? They want the normative ranges. So we will be providing that as well if you subscribe.
All right. And Terry, we'll end with Terry and then we will.
Well, I think just the coolest thing in terms of the ranges is the accessibility of golf swing videos that are out there, so I'm also excited on the research that other people do in terms of what they're seeing. But, obviously we can take videos off of, if they're good quality videos off of YouTube and Instagram and things like that and start seeing what ranges are, so at-home research.
Terry, didn't you use Ben Hogan?
Yeah, that one came out really well.
Yeah,
so that was really cool.
I think in all the times I've used it, I can't really remember a time I used it where once everything uploaded and everything meshed that I had a problem shooting like any different type with people behind them. So yeah. That's also what is really amazing with it is, for me, I'm kind of the generation right before iPhones became everything. So I'm on a bit of a learning curve. So I found it quite easy to use for me, which means that probably for almost everybody else in the world, it's going to be even easier than that. So that was great.
Yeah, that's part of the cool thing about the machine learning and AI is that when swings haven't worked in the development process, Sam's team's been able to work out why and gradually isolate what's important, what's not important. So one of the questions we had on the chat there was about clothes and different things. We've, like Sean is saying, we've got all sorts of different clothing types and swing styles and backgrounds, and we're getting, really good success. So thanks, Sam, for your team.
All right, guys, I think that's all the time that we have for today. If you have any other questions that didn't get answered, just direct them to the website and the team will be all over that. I think that we can consider Sportsbox 3D Golf officially launched. So thank you all for joining. I hope you go forth and enjoy making yourselves into avatars and fixing the golf swings of everyone across the world. I can't wait to see Sportsbox 3D Golf take over not just golf, but everything beyond. So thank you to our panelists, their founding team, Dr. Phil Cheetham, and everyone that's been a part of this. I will see you all on a golf course hopefully soon with much better swings. Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.